Hello, everybody. It's our big E3 show here on Computer America. We've got Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara Magazine, is here with us for both hours. We're going to have Josh Boykin here, our gamer correspondent. It's our all E3 show here tonight on Computer America. So if you're into games, you are in the right place. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we begin Computer America.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And it's our all E3 show tonight. Yes, it's all about E3. The Electronic Entertainment Exposition. We've been telling you about it. It's up and running, and we have coverage of everything that's happening out there tonight. You know, just before the show, I was watching this one video of something called The Guardian, and really, really good. They got, a lot of interesting things. We're going to talk about the hardware, software, the gaming industry in general, and we're here to do all that. Ben, you must be pumped.
Pump's the word, sad's another, and just some of the things that that they've already announced, no indication whatsoever that it was going to happen, but there have been a lot of really, really great announcements that I not even like, because like Halo, a new Halo's going to come out, a new Call of Duty's going to come out. But how were you going to know that they were going to remake Final Fantasy VII? Like, little things like that are so awesome are just, popping up all over this year.
Well, let's get right to it. We got two of our best correspondents when it comes to the world of gaming. Again, it's the Ultimate Gamer Convention, the Electronics Entertainment Exposition, better known as E3. And we have live coverage from the event with the help of our friends at Popzara Magazine. Nathan Evans is the managing editor of Popzara Magazine, and Nate is here to tell us about E3, and of course he's here with us tonight. Hey, Nate, how are you? Welcome to Computer America.
Welcome back, Craig. I am managing editor. I am lots of things, but tonight I am your servant.
And also out at E3 itself is Josh Boykin. He is our gamer correspondent. Josh is a lifelong gamer, has been a game journalist for over 6 years. He's published in multiple forums and for multiple sites. He strives to make the world of gaming fun and exciting for the hardcore and the new alike. He's currently an editor-at-large for Popzara Magazine, and also he's a senior editor for GotGame.com. Josh, hi, welcome into the show. What's going on? Josh, are you there?
It's a strong silent type.
Yeah, he is. I just saw him. For some reason he disappeared, but we'll get back to him.
He'll be joining us soon.
Yeah, he'll be joining us. He was with us, and then he just kind of disappeared. So, but he'll be back. In the meantime, so why don't we, you're sort of in the thick of it out there, Nathan, and I know you have a lot of your people out at E3. What's your feeling for E3 this year? And are there lots of surprises? Is it What's the overall tone of the E3?
Okay, full disclosure, I should note, as a managing editor, one of my jobs is I get to, quote, manage editors. And that includes, and not limited to, sending people qualified and amazing like Josh and Cory and Herman and all the rest of the team to the show so I don't have to. Yeah. I've done my time. I've done my duty. I've done my time. It's sort of like in Israel how you have to serve 2 years. I've done my 2 years. But no, I've kept in close contact and the arrangement. And Ben, you're completely right. Half this stuff is known, and the other half is not known. The question is what's known and what's not known. Josh could tell you this better than I can when he gets back from his repositioning satellite system at Lovely Hotel.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter is that at this show it comes down to two basic things. It comes down to console gaming as we know it and console gaming as it's being presented. So what I need to do is first talk about conferences. Now, Ben, did you watch any of the major conferences from Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo?
I did catch bits and pieces of the HoloLens and the Minecraft, and really just the Microsoft conference.
What was your opinion? Now, this is very careful. I'm gonna give everyone a little school. I'm gonna let you in a little secret. You don't have to go to E3 to catch the best bits. Not anymore. Now you can, from any browser, you can just sit and watch this whole thing from the comfort of your own home. You could be naked eating Cheetos, but you can have a spectacular experience virtually. So let's give an example. Ben, what did you think the highlights besides HoloLens and Halo were from Microsoft?
From Microsoft, I really didn't catch a whole lot of it, but just really, just what I saw. Just that was a highlight. Was they're really showing off what they're going to be doing with the Xbox One and the integration with Windows 10, but not so much the games. It's just what the integration coming up. Like that was the highlight. Was what they can do in the near future with their system. Nothing really in particular.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you've seen the HoloLens before. You've seen the Halos before. Now, I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say something that nobody who knows me ever thought I would say. Full disclosure. And that would be, by the way, I heard Josh may be trying to join back in again. So, love you, Hotel Wi-Fi. The fact of the matter is I think Microsoft hit this one out of the park. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't an adult when they were out. The fact is I think Microsoft had the best E3 conference. To me, they showed a diversity of software, hardware. They showed a strength in platform number, and for nothing else, if for no other reason, they have enabled backwards compatibility on the Xbox One console, which, if I've been on this show 100 times ranting about it, the fact that they were able to do this, to me, give them the show. For anybody listening, if you have an Xbox One console, your console is going to get 100 times more useful in the next couple of months. Now, as far as HoloLens, I think it's a gimmick. It's a cool gimmick, but it is a gimmick. And what's really interesting is the Oculus Rift. Again, I've been on this show being a big naysayer. I'm still a naysayer. But the fact that they've partnered with Microsoft as a console manufacturer means that there will be some support for the Xbox One console, for the Xbox 360 console, which was just announced a few hours ago, and for the Windows 10 platform. Of course, Ben, you're going to need a Windows 10 platform to use Oculus Rift to your console. So follow me here. Let's follow the tautology, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
You have an Xbox One console. You have a Windows 10 machine. You have your setup on your HDTV, and then you have your Oculus Rift. That's a big chain to enjoy a video game.
Yeah.
Can you say niche product? I can. And the price is indeterminate, which means expensive. If they don't talk about the price, it means it's not cheap. That's another rule of thumb. Expect hundreds of dollars. Expect lots of early adopters to go out buying it like Google Glass, thinking it's going to be successful. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Nothing I saw at the show made me think it was going to be, and I will state again, Microsoft showed support for not one but two virtual reality / AR headsets. That is not an unwavering sign of support for either one. But Minecraft looked cool in AR.
Yeah, it did.
It did. It looked pretty cool. It looked like Star Wars. And so, second of all, let's talk about Sony. Now, Sony, like you mentioned Sony's big trump card. You mentioned Final Fantasy VII, a remake.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this wasn't exactly a surprise because they did announce that Final Fantasy VII was going to come to the PlayStation 4 back in December. And you could hear an audible gasp when people cheered like they always do. Way, Final Fantasy is coming again. You get to buy it for the 10th time. So, but then they showed a trailer. It looked like it was going to be just another PlayStation port like they've been doing. Not the case. This game is going to be completely remade for the PlayStation 4, and I really wanted Josh's opinion on here because we had a very nice conversation about this game a couple hours ago that I might want to hold off until he gets back on the show. But the fact of the matter is the game is coming out on the PlayStation 4. Josh thinks that the game will eventually come to the Xbox 360. I don't, at least not now, and for very logistical reasons. But for those of you who either grew up with the game or grew up thinking it was the greatest thing in the world, it will come back to PlayStation 4. The other game that they showed that had everybody's panties in a bunch was a game called The Last Guardian. This game was announced years and years and years and years and years and years ago for the PlayStation 3. Yeah. It was from the creator of, what is the name of that game, Ben? You know
Shadow of the Colossus?
Shadow of the Colossus, a game that everybody loves but no one actually loves because it's so hard. But it's beautiful, and it's epic, and it is an amazing game. And
I got to saw a couple of the Last Guardian. I got to watch a preview of it, and I think Josh is calling in. By the way,
yes, I telepathically asked him to phone call because his Wi-Fi is not working.
Okay, hey Josh, welcome into the Computer America Show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, you sound good. Okay.
We're psychic. Josh, we were just talking about you. I wanted to hold off on talking about Final Fantasy until you were here. So.
Oh, well, that's kind of you. Very nice.
Well, you have those pictures of me, so. But now.
I don't.
I don't. Okay, then get them off. No, I was basically saying, Josh, that you were very sure about Final Fantasy coming to the Xbox One. If you want to give us a little heads up, because you're actually at the show, what do you think about Final Fantasy VII?
So, I mean, there's some healthy skepticism drawing around Final Fantasy VII. Honestly, I'm super excited about it. Fans have been looking for it for years. I think it's fantastic that they're catering to the demands of the fans a bit. Obviously, it's not going to be the same game that we played back on the PS1. There were tons of localization issues. I mean, weird translations and characters that were kind of racist, and those things will probably get refined in the new version. They did say that at the end of the trailer, they said play it first on PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. Which implies to me that means it's not going to be a PS4 exclusive. And honestly, Square Enix has been doing multi-platform for quite some time. All the Final Fantasy 13s and Final Fantasy 14 were all multi-platform, and I think they'd be tossing out a real chunk of change if they decided not to release it on the Xbox One and PC. So I would expect that we'll see Final Fantasy VII on those platforms.
I agree with you. I think that Final Fantasy VII will appear on a platform. I'm not particularly convinced it'll show up on Xbox One for anytime soon, and for a very specific reason, and that's historical. For anybody who doesn't know, Final Fantasy VII originally on the PlayStation was a very contentious get for Sony. It helped establish them as the market leader for almost 20 years, and they ripped it, crying and screaming from Nintendo. And the impetus to that was an argument that the cartridge system was going to be too expensive to manufacture. But the reason it was so interesting, Craig and Ben, and Josh, you probably know this, because the game was originally designed around something on what's called an SGI workstation, which Nintendo had a partnership with Silicon Graphics companies that would eventually become the Nintendo 64. It was a very expensive project, and for Nintendo to lose Square to their upstart PlayStation, it sort of caused a rift. The two companies didn't repair for years and years and years later. And Sony actually, when in the early 2000s, Square was going bankrupt. They became a public company, and despite the relationship with Sony, that money from Nintendo was sorely missed. They had great licensing deals with Nintendo. They helped co-create games like Mario RPG and several others. Sony stepped in and purchased part of Square to keep them afloat. Still didn't work. Square eventually had to resign with their partner Enix. That's where the name Square Enix comes from. Helped out quite a bit, but as of in 2014, eventually Sony dumped the last remaining shares of Square. But to this day, and this is something a lot of people don't acknowledge, no name brand Final Fantasy, with the exception of what Josh said, of 13, 14, and I don't think 15's coming to the Xbox One. Is that correct, Josh? Or at least not yet?
I'm not sure that's true. Take a look.
I think Final Fantasy 15 may be another one, and now there's been rumors about this, but Sony and Square have been so heavily invested in each other, there might be some proprietary deal of this going on. I hope that's not the case. I hope this game comes to everything, but I'm somewhat skeptical that the other platform will be Xbox One at this time. I would imagine it would probably be PlayStation Vita and probably the PC for now. But if it sells enough, they'll port that thing on toaster ovens.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15 is.
I'm not sure that they're gonna. I would hope that the level of remake that they're going to be applying to Final Fantasy VII would mean that this would not be a game that would play on the Vita. If they're going to give me a title that basically looks like a skinned up PS3 game, I mean, don't get me wrong, it still looks better than PS1, but with the hype that they're creating around it, with the just the energy, the detail that came from that trailer. There's just I don't think that really there's any reason for Square Enix to not throw it on the Xbox One. Final Fantasy 15 is going to be on the Xbox One.
Is it?
I feel like if you look at it from a timeline perspective, if they had that real dedication to Sony, Final Fantasy 13 would have been a PS4 exclusive when they had originally designed it to be on the I mean, there was a big disparity between the PS3 version, the PS3 version and the Xbox 360 version of Final Fantasy 13 because they had originally designed it for Blu-ray format where they would have a ton more disc space. And then when they had to lower the resolution of the cutscenes to be able to fit on the 3 discs that they ended up putting it on for the 360, I can't help but feel like they just acknowledge that their user base has changed, that they have people who are playing on Microsoft systems that also want to take part in the games.
Of course.
I think there is a historic connection for Final Fantasy VII, and I, as an owner of both consoles, would want to buy it for the PS4 just because I'm so used to playing that on Sony consoles. But I would be very surprised if we did not see it show up on the
Well, I agree. Everything Josh said, I agree with 100%. The reason I'm a little skeptical, right, has nothing to do with that relationship with Sony. It has to do with the fact that Sony's biggest announcement, and no one acknowledges this, but I'll tell you, the biggest announcement at Sony was not a remake of a 20-year-old game or the eventual release of a game that was promised 5 years ago. To me, the biggest announcement, in fact, this might be the biggest announcement at the whole show, as far as I'm concerned, was that Sony is now going to be the exclusive debuter of Call of Duty content. This is something that has been a Microsoft thing for how long, Josh? At least 7 years, right? Since the Xbox 360 came out. Sony will now be the first run console for Call of Duty franchises is a pretty big get for Sony, and I don't think it came cheap. I think money exchanged hands.
I don't see the connection there, though.
Yeah.
Well, did you get that?
It's a huge game. It definitely is a huge get because every year we say it's the same thing we've seen a million times, blah blah. The franchise is dying, but it still sells a lot of copies. And for PlayStation 4, at least in the last couple months, they really don't have a lot going for them. Like they definitely came out strong with the whole console, the whole new console war. They started out strong, but.
Well,
I guess locking in that one franchise is actually going to be a pretty big deal.
Well, it won't be locking in per se. It's not going to be an exclusive per se. They're going to take over the exclusive contracts that Microsoft shared for several years. Which, if you were an Xbox fan, you would receive DLC, new map packs, new features, new day one stuff, all on Xbox. It's a tactic that Microsoft pioneered in their early days of the Xbox 360, where they would pay for exclusivity or what they call timed exclusivity. And to be fair with you, when the Xbox 360 came out a year before the PlayStation 3 and had a giant gulf of support, what would happen is that Microsoft would take money, and upwards of $20 million per title, as we found out, and pay for games not to come to the PlayStation. And that had to do with even PlayStation stalwarts like Grand Theft Auto, Netflix compatibility, whatever. They were trying to choke Sony out of the game, and because of that, the idea that you could out-exclusive your competitor became rampant. And to be honest with you, Ben, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. At the end of the day, the PlayStation 3 made more money than the Xbox 360. Microsoft was sort of run out of the game. So I think we may have lost Josh, and but hopefully he'll call back. But
Josh,
Is he
Josh,
back?
yeah, he's back. He actually never
I
left.
just didn't. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I heard a ring. Sorry about that. See, I'm behind the game. But so what I'm thinking, Josh, from what I see there, is that it looks to me like Sony is doing exclusive deals the way Microsoft was years ago, and I think it would be a tragedy if games like Final Fantasy VII, which are completely multi-platform ready, would not hit Xbox. But one thing I'm a little concerned about is that I'm not sure if Sony considers the PS Now network a platform. You know, they've been hyping it that the idea that you can play a PlayStation 4 game on your Vita TV, or you can play this or that on your Vita or PlayStation 3. The idea that a blockbuster PlayStation 4 game could be playable on anything else, I'm hoping they're not counting that as a platform. There's still so many details we don't know. And when it comes to exclusives about appearing on other platforms, we know Tomb Raider is eventually going to come to the PlayStation 4. You know, we know a lot of these so-called exclusive games will eventually hit. There's a lot of question marks about Final Fantasy, and I'm awaiting answers when we get them. I hope you're right. I really do. I really hope it comes on the Xbox One.
So, no, Ben, we're watching a lot of the videos here in the background here. We just watching some guy who was jogging, turned into a zombie.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
CNN.
these are just trailers.
That's
yeah.
CNN. That's not a game.
Let's hope not. No, but yeah, there's a lot of great concepts. But focusing back on this idea of time exclusivity, gamers seem to be more patient nowadays. Like there's been a resurgence of what constitutes a good game. You know what people feel like is. Yes, even though it's a remake of a 20-year-old game, Final Fantasy VII had an amazing looking trailer. It looks like they gave the kind of effort and attention to detail that it needed. I think people are, they really don't care about, time exclusivity anymore. If they know, and Josh, you were right when it said, coming first to PlayStation, it's definitely going to be coming to Xbox One, and I think that people are just excited that, they read that and said, oh, cool for PlayStation, but I'll just wait it out and I'll get it for Xbox. Like, it's they really don't care. That they're willing to wait nowadays.
Now, I think simultaneously, let's pretend that it takes 3 years for us to see Final Fantasy VII. I guess realistically, it could be 2 years if they're deep into the project, but let's pretend it takes 2 to 3 years before we see Final Fantasy VII. By that point, are we really looking for console selling systems? Like, we're going to be pretty solidly in current gen. I don't know how many people are going to. It's not like when you're selling the Assassin's Creed bundles and you're selling them at a cheap price because you're trying to get Xbox Ones in houses. You're going to have your solid install base. You're going to have your solid transition from last gen. So I think that if the timing of it would make sense, that I think Square Enix is going to have the most incentive to say, how can I get this into as many households as possible? Though, again, I have to say that there will be something really weird about playing Final Fantasy VII on a Microsoft controller. Like, it just something about. Maybe it's just that
you feel like your controller's gonna light on fire and it's gonna burn like acid.
Josh, you better be careful. You know why? Because that game might show up on the iPad, and then you'll have no controller, and you're gonna wish it was on an Xbox. Even that fancy Xbox controller that costs $150.
That's not true. I love my iPad. I love mobile gaming right now. Like I would.
Oh, I do too. But you want to play Grand Theft Auto on a touchscreen? Yeah.
It's not turn-based.
I hope it's not. Like, we're going to have a nice mobile port of Final Fantasy where everyone's a giant chibi head and it's just turn-based strategy. It's the same game.
Final Angry Birds. I can't wait.
Well, and I will say one thing to get away from Final Fantasy, but one thing we have to be a little careful of is that we see these ideas of remakes of old games all the time. And I was at E3 a couple years ago, the E3 where I met Josh, and I was talking to one of the developers at Sega, and when they were, Josh, you know the game I'm talking about, Castle of Illusion. And I remember I was talking to him, and we were talking about what was going to return from the original game. And people love the original game. I said, well, you're going to have this? He's like, oh, no, we're going to update that. Well, you're going to have this. He's like, oh, no, we're going to update that. Well, surely you're going to have this. Oh, no, we're going to update this. So sometimes remakes don't live up to the idea in our heads. And on that note, As soon as that show was over, I got a few emails from some of the Popzara editors, including one of our new girls, Megan, and she had never played Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation. She was too young, and she was so excited that she couldn't wait to finally be able to play it. So for people like Megan and all the other ones who have never played the game, I think if the game is timed for a 2017 release, which would make it 20-year anniversary, I really hope that it lives up to the expectations, because there's no reason for a bad Final Fantasy game anymore. We've already had Final Fantasy X Part 2. We don't need more crap.
All right. On that note, we've got a caller who wants to make a comment. I say we let him in and see what he has to say. His name is Sean. Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hi.
Hi, Craig. Sean is my brother.
Shane.
Oh, okay. Shane. Sorry.
He'll remember one day.
Yeah, I will. Shane, what can we do
It's Alzheimer's, I'm telling you.
Yeah, what can we do
Well, I beta tested Windows 10, the preview for that, and they were talking about having content between the Windows 10 OS and Xbox One.
Yes.
At the E3, did they talk about that a little more? Is it going to be just a sharing of content, or are you actually going to be able to play one-on-one PC versus someone on the Xbox One via the Xbox Network or Xbox Live?
Yeah, probably Nate should answer that first, and then...
Actually, Josh, I think we talked about that before. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, so I'm I think it's going to depend on the title. There will be games that allow actual play between users on Xbox One and users on Windows 10. Though I'm having trouble calling a name of specific titles. I mean, it's definitely a functionality that they'll be pressing for. For some reason, I am tempted to say that Elite Dangerous. I'll have to take a look. Give me some Google time. But yeah, I mean, and that's really one of the benefits. I think it's one of the reasons that I agree that Microsoft really stole the show is because they set up more of what feels like a long-run strategy. And to be fair, Sony's not going to develop a dominant PC operating system that has a giant install base globally that they can leverage to be able to compete.
The heck you say?
But realistically, that combination with Windows 10, it excites me because I travel a lot, so I'm not always by my Xbox One. I am by my laptop, and if I can play games with my friends who are still console users, if I can still chat with them on Xbox Live, having that experience is going to be another potential reason for me to spend time with my Xbox One instead of my PS4. And I really think that coming in the next couple of years, I mean, exclusivity was all the talk in both shows. Both shows made a point to say Xbox One exclusive or exclusive on PS4. More often you did hear like console exclusive to PS4 and PC, basically their way of saying not on Xbox One. But I do expect that there will be a lot of that exchange between the Xbox One and Windows 10. I'm sure they've got money on it where they've got developers making those experiences that are going to be good for cross-platform play.
Yes. Josh, did you hear the news while you were out there? A couple hours ago, Microsoft announced that the compatibility between the Xbox and Windows 10 will be expanded. It will now support Xbox 360 as well.
Hey guys, I just want to make sure that Shane is got his questions answered. Yeah, Shane. Anything else you wanted to ask before we move on?
Yes, I know you only have a couple minutes before break here, but my one last question is because both the Xbox One and the PS4 run an x86 architecture type chipset, does that mean that more games will be ported towards the PC that weren't previously given to
Yes.
PC players like me, because it'll be easier for them to port them over now?
Yes.
I think you're seeing that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that with the Xbox 360 specifically, and it's one of the reasons. In fact, to be honest with you, I actually think that's one of the larger reasons for the success of systems like Valve's Steam, because it's made available to PC porting ready-made console games that could be easily ported directly to the PC platform, and then after a certain amount of time, heavily discounted and picked up for a cool $5.
Hey, guys, we're at the bottom of the hour. Shane, thanks for calling. I promise you I will remember your name eventually. And thanks again. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara Magazine, is here with us, as well as Josh Boykin, our gamer correspondent. It's all about E3 tonight. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
I hope you're old enough for this next bit. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time the Elevate Grill. It's roughly the size and shape of a carry-on bag with a broad, flat base and a big square handle up top, but this case can pack a lot of heat because Elevate Grill is a folding, toteable, 2-burner gas grill. It uses propane in a bottle, the 16.4-ounce canister you may see on a torch used to solder pipes, for example. When you separate the handles and swing them down, they become support legs for the 2 flat grill sections that hinge down to horizontal. Behind their grates are square burners with a AAA cell-powered ignition spark gap on each. The gas bottle connects anew for each use and stows inside between uses, an arrangement enforced by a separate regulator connection designed to not travel well when it's connected. Each of the 2 grates is roughly a foot square, so if you're feeding 1 to 6 people, you may be able to cook it all in one pass. Bottom line, the Elevate Grill is a cool new way to make gas grilling a portable feast. Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour, and we're joined by the Popzara crew, Nathan Evans and Josh Boykin here. Who one of them is out there at E3, and the other one doesn't have to be. And they're yeah, it's very true. And they're they've been there. We've all been watching the conferences. It's really this is like the one of the best one of the best E3 so far, where if you wanted to get coverage, you didn't have to, scrounge around on the internet. I mean, YouTube had it up on their front page. You could find it all over Twitch. There were events left and right that you could actually sit down and watch, all the keynotes. Very, very accessible this year, and and that's just been awesome for someone like me who didn't have a chance to go. But we just finished up with our caller, and we're talking about E3 right now. Not sure really where we left off with E3. I know we were talking about Xbox One and their streaming to consoles, a little bit about PlayStation and their exclusivity grab. But what other things of note haven't we hit yet?
Well,
actually, you bring up a. Please, after you.
Oh no, I was going to say, Josh, go ahead. Yay. Josh is on the floor. Look, Ben, the reason people like you and I can enjoy this is because of people like Josh, brave enough to wander out in there and do the hard, heavy lifting. So, thank you.
Well, one of the things that you kind of hit the nail on the head, Ben. The show has definitely evolved in ways that I think are really cool. The ease with which you can watch even the Square Enix presser, the Bethesda presser, all of these different companies are making these experiences more accessible for the people who aren't at the show. Even when you're at the show, it's really helpful to have those streams up because it's an action-packed 3 days. There's no way to see everything that's on the floor, and sometimes it's just as well to be able to watch a press conference from the comfort of your hotel room where you're trying to write up an article or sleep, in the case of EA's press conference.
Burn.
And as opposed to, it wasn't good. But it's nice that all of those tools are available. And you can also actually, I feel like I can tell on the show floor that things are starting to shift too. There are tons of people who are from what I would almost call like ancillary industries. I met a couple of people at the Sony presser who were connected to the group of people that were live streaming the Sony presser in theaters, right? So there were AMC theaters that were live streaming the Sony presser, and they all sold out. Like they had, I can't remember how many venues they said here. It was over double what they had from last year, and they all still sold out. So we're now getting to the point where it's unrealistic for somebody to say like gaming is not relevant to the core, to mainstream people. There are tons of people out there who want to be part of E3, who want to find out about new games, who want to get involved, and companies are giving them the tools to be able to find out. That's great.
Yep. And one more thing, and Josh, I talked to Cory about this earlier today, and he kind of confirmed a thought. This was the first year they actually let in thousands of non-media, specifically to attend, upwards of 5,000, what they call hardcore fans, which I believe, Josh, I think you mentioned this before, they're sort of culled from social media, those big, and certain tickets were given away. And so you had a whole new perspective on the floor, which, to be honest with you, is hell for the PR people. But for people like Josh and the rest of the guys, I would imagine, Josh, I don't know if you can confirm this, but it probably makes the show a little more enjoyable because the focus is more on taking things seriously. You have people who want to play things that are there as not as journalists but as fans, and it's nice to see people genuinely get excited about gaming again. Look, we're all well, not all of us, but some of us are journalists and some of us want to be fans, and it's hard to reconcile both sometimes when you have to be objective. Look, thank you for saying that about EA. It was a terrible show. But if you go in there with an open mind, you can say, like I told them at the beginning of the show, Josh, I thought Microsoft had the best presentation. I've never said that about Microsoft. They shocked me, just how progressive they were. And on that, I think Nintendo had the least impressive conference out of the big three, with the exception of the really cool puppets. But except for the puppets, I mean, I'm not commenting on the quality of the games. It was a pretty sparse showing for the big end. I don't know. What was your feeling about that?
I guess I feel like the difficulty for me with Nintendo, I've talked about this before, and I think actually it was one of the first conversations we had working for Popzara together. Every time that I play a Nintendo exclusive, I enjoy the game. I think it's gorgeous. It's a lot of fun. But the thought crosses my mind, I wish this weren't on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that doesn't necessarily stand for the 3DS. I do enjoy the 3DS as a platform, and it's got good market share. But more often than not, I want to be able to, I want to not have to hook up the console, and I unhook my Wii U all the time because it doesn't play movies, because it doesn't, I can't connect with my friends because they don't use the Nintendo network. They use Xbox Live or the PlayStation network. I think that Nintendo is still fighting the fight of how do we get people to buy Wii U's. And the one thing that I was really looking forward to, they kind of like teased it and then almost literally said nothing, was when Reggie was saying, we made some big announcements about ways that we're changing we are going to show up in theme parks. And he said, we'll have more information in 2016.
Yay.
And that was it. The rest of it was kind of a standard issue show. Now they still showed off games that I'm sure will be fun. Triforce Heroes looks good. Herman said that he did some time with Star Fox. I believe he enjoyed it. Those games are going to be good. It's just a matter of, like, even me as a Wii U owner, there are just so many other titles out there that I feel hard pressed to actually go and get them.
And I think it'd be fair to say that you can hate the sin but love the sinner. And I think with Nintendo, you can love the game but you can be disappointed in the console. And I think, Josh, I don't know if you agree with me, but to me, it seems Nintendo's biding their time, and the Wii U is we've seen the user base sort of expand to where it's going to be. And I didn't see an emphasis on even getting people remotely excited about the console, with the exception of Star Fox. You had no Zelda for Wii U being shown. You had an emphasis on multiplayer games, and I want to say this in Nintendo's favor. Nintendo is changing, and for the better or for worse, here's a company that is starting to embrace things, tie-in product. They're embracing things like Josh mentioned with theme parks. They're embracing putting their intellectual property out there for other people to use. And you have their biggest game at the show being co-developed by a third party that's developing for other platforms. You have a multiplayer Zelda. You have a multiplayer Metroid Prime. You have a big shooter that came out this year that's multiplayer. You have, and they didn't mention this at their conference, and I talked to Cory about this, Josh, and I don't think Nintendo's even focusing on the show, but their website emphasizes how developer-friendly they are for independent games, especially on the WiiWare for the Wii U. Lots of independent games. In fact, quite a few that are noteworthy, including the Axiom game. They were the home of Shovel Knight. Nintendo's not even talking about this. They have a YouTube streaming, and this goes back to what you were saying, Ben, about watching from home. Nintendo has an affiliate program with YouTube that you can get paid for making games, making gameplay videos. They have all this stuff that's so progressive, and they're not getting any traction from it. And so I'm almost wondering, as Josh was saying, is that at this point, how much more are we going to see out of their major platform, the Wii U console? I'm not speaking against it. I'm not speaking for it. I really want to play Star Fox. I really do. To me, the game looks, for anybody out there my age, it looks like a sequel to Star Fox 64. They're sort of forgetting the last couple of games even happened. But the game of the show for me, as always, and I'm obsessed about this, was Super Mario Maker. I really want to play that game. But am I going to rush out and buy a Wii U just to make my own Mario levels? To be honest with you, the one thing that I got from this entire show at this point, it really makes me want to get an Xbox One console. That's the one thing that I came out of this show feeling. Like I just want to run out and get one right now, but I know the price is probably going to drop at some point. So
it'll drop right after you purchase it.
Well, I know Josh just picked one up not too long ago, and already they have double the hard drive, they have a new controller, all kinds of stuff.
And they have one that's white. Or they had one that
I'm not racist. I'll take it any color.
But the new controller there, was that announced out at E3? Because the Xbox One did get a new controller where you can customize, swap out parts and things like that, and I thought that was awesome.
Well, actually, there's two. See, that's the funny thing is there's two new Xbox controllers. There was one controller that just came out about a month ago that basically added 3.5 millimeter jack, so you can listen if you have a PlayStation 4 or gasp, Wii U, you know about this. You can use your headphone jack in your controller. It's wonderful. But the Xbox One, despite Microsoft saying they spent over $100 million, BS by the way, to develop this thing, didn't have that 3.5 millimeter jack. And the only reason that's a big deal, Ben, because companies like Turtle Beach and Astro Gaming and Skull Candy, they make a lot of money selling these proprietary headsets. They cost $200 a pop, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
They require that proprietary jack. How will they work with the new Xbox controllers? I do not know. But I would hate to be the one telling someone that $200 Astro Gaming headset is no longer functional. Kids, don't buy proprietary. Just say no. When you can, don't buy proprietary.
All right. Okay. So, interesting graphics that we're watching here, Ben, on the back.
Oh yeah, I just have some of the trailers out there that were released during E3. You can check out our video stream, and I'm just playing them in the background. Some nice, pretty images for us to talk over.
Yeah, exactly. So I just IM'd you something, Ben. You should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we are talking to Josh Boykin and of course Nathan Evans. Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara Magazine.
Hey, and Josh, you were actually out there. Was there something that you thought that was really cool that you were able to sit there and be in the crowd and thought that it didn't get the attention it deserved, that maybe it was overshadowed by something else, or just something that really caught your eye?
I think realistically, a lot of the things that were my jaw-dropping moments were everybody else's jaw-dropping moments too. We're not talking about it as much right now because the game reveals are super exciting, and the technology's not finished, so we don't want to super get our hopes up. But the Minecraft HoloLens demo was, that was everybody in the room gasped type moment. For those who didn't see it, HoloLens is Microsoft's technology. It's a headset technology that allows you to see holographically displayed images in front of you. Imagine a Geordie LaForge-esque visor that projects images in your field of vision. So they use a special camera that would show us, in the audience on the big screen, what the HoloLens user was using. And so they started off, and the guy was looking at a wall and was able to see the screen for the game of Minecraft he was playing. And so he's using the controller and he's walking his character around, and nobody was really impressed, right? Well, then he turns around and he says, I believe it was like create world. And they had this big square table, and like watching a pile of Legos built before your eyes, you see this giant Lego world, just like or Minecraft world, just erect itself from the ground. It was absurd to watch. And so now he's standing at a real table, looking at a holographic image that doesn't exist in reality, but and he's able to gesture and look at things. And all of his physical body interactions were affecting the game world. He was able to, because you have this outside kind of God's eye view of the Minecraft world, he could peer into a building and see another player who was in that same Minecraft world. And then he could looked underground and was like, oh, there's some stuff down here, you should go down here. And so, he could watch her leave the building and plant.
It only rendered
coming lightning bolts from the air, and it was crazy.
Yeah, it only rendered like a certain distance around his own character, and he could scroll around left and right. But still, it didn't just play like a just kind of a freaky demo. You can actually see the implications of the HoloLens being used for gaming, because that would just turn Minecraft into a completely different game, especially for we just had a company on last night that uses Minecraft for teaching. Like, to put this in the hands of a kid, and it's going to change the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny for anybody who wants to see what AR would look like today. It's nowhere near as impressive as HoloLens. But if you have a Nintendo 3DS, there's built-in AR software. Do you remember on your 3DS, Josh, those little AR cards? Do they still have those?
The AR card.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they sell them with the new 3DS.
yeah, your 3DS can do give you a little demonstration, and like it'll you point it at an object with these cards, and it will create a little digital version of it. Of course, HoloLens is that on steroids, but I think, and I've said so on the show, that I think by not obscuring the player's sense of vision and giving them a peripheral vision, that HoloLens to me is automatically more interesting because of its functionality, like what Josh was describing, than pure VR. And I'm really happy that Microsoft is supporting it. And one quick thing about that, I don't know if Josh, you agree. Everyone associates Halo with Microsoft's biggest franchise. It's their system seller. My argument has been since last year that Minecraft is now Microsoft's big system seller. That Minecraft is now the biggest game on the Xbox platform. Not just by a little bit either, but by leaps and bounds. I think it's a game that everyone likes. It's available on every platform, not just Xbox. But Microsoft, since they're the proprietary owner of the thing, they stand to make a lot of money. And to see them match AR technology with Minecraft, like you said, Josh, I wish I could have been there too. It was really cool. It was really remarkable.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, obviously, picking up Minecraft was one of the best decisions that Microsoft has made in a while. I do think because it's still kind of that Mojang branded property, like there is a different feel, a different attitude that comes from Minecraft that really stands apart from the rest of the Xbox brand and the rest of really the Microsoft brand too.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like Halo 5 Guardians, like they led with that for a reason. There's a certain intensity that appeals to the Xbox core demographic that Halo 5 hits. But it is fantastic that, you know, Minecraft is the game that everybody can get behind. You know, everybody can appreciate the, you know, the cuteness of the world or the absolute, you know, even though you're looking at these voxel, you know, kind of pixelated images. I don't know how many people have told me, they're like, why does Minecraft look so bad? Like, why didn't we get all these good graphics so that things could look better?
Oh yes.
And it, you know, generally that comes from non-gamers. And I was like, you know, the thing is, when you see some of the crazy worlds that are built, like regardless of the kind of pixelated view of it, it's still really fascinating and kind of stunning too.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, it's really the world's biggest. I mean, everybody wants to throw the term sandbox around. It's the world's biggest sandbox and playground.
You know, and yes,
I agree. It was a great call for him.
On almost every platform too. On the consoles, it reigns supreme. It's still, you know, every month we cover the NPD numbers at Popzara, and Minecraft is a perennial. It's the only, with the exception of Call of Duty, it's the only title that stays in the top 10 software every single month for years and years. If you go to the iOS or Android marketplace stores, it's the top game every month for years, every single time. It might waver between the first and second. It's there forever. You know, that you can go buy Lego sets. And isn't it nice to play an Xbox proprietary game, or to play an Xbox game, Josh, where it's not rated M? It's pretty amazing. It's a phenomenon, and that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah,
in the gaming world.
It doesn't have to rely on sex appeal. It doesn't have to rely on gore. It doesn't have to rely on some kind of mature themes. It's just fun to play, open to a lot of people, because, you know, like people were complaining about, that's the same thing that makes it very accessible, is you can play it on a lot of different systems. Like, you can even play it on tablets. The lower system requirements means that it can be played anywhere by anyone, anytime, and it, you know, just one of those odd games that shows that, you know, you don't have to have, you know, all the bells and whistles to make a really great game.
You know, there's a vendor at E3. I don't know the name of it, but the only thing they do is they sell a wearable sort of smart band that keeps track of your Minecraft stats. That is some dedication. That is gang activity right there. But seriously though, I've always felt that, one last thing about Minecraft, and I'll shut up, is when I first saw the Nintendo Wii back in 2006, one of the most creative things I saw were the Miis, the introduction of these little avatars you could build out of pieces. They didn't look photoreal by any stretch, but they gave the player a chance to be creative in a way that was very functional. And then as we saw that sort of thing get co-opted by Sony and Microsoft, I think they missed the point by making their avatars so realistic. They sort of alienated. And when I saw Minecraft, I think Minecraft took what Nintendo sort of dropped the ball and just exploded it. And the idea is, like you were talking, you had a guest on that used Minecraft for education. The idea that a video game in any facility can be used as an educational tool to make it accessible. And that's why I thought it was important that Microsoft showed the HoloLens with Minecraft, because it takes something foreign, it makes it accessible to people. And that, to me, is an element of the whole gaming thing that I don't think we see enough of. And the more we see that, the more we expand the idea of what a game actually is. And I'm all for that, to be honest.
Yeah, since Josh didn't jump up there, I guess it leaves us, a nice little opening to transition again. We've had there's some interest in the chat room, and I know it's been online for the longest time. To kind of jump back to Nintendo real quick, was Pokemon mentioned anywhere by Nintendo?
If it was, it wasn't prominent.
Yeah.
They just released a few Pokemon games for the 3DS that were sort of upgrades, but that was earlier this year, late last year. I don't know, Josh, was there any Pikachu power on the floor?
No. So I mean, Pokemon's already been pretty active with Omega Ruby. I always mix up whether it's Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or the opposite. But then they also have Pokemon Rumble World, which is a free-to-play franchise that they dropped on the 3DS. Like, Pokemon's been putting in work. I believe there's a new mystery dungeon on the way. But I don't think that they really did a lot of work with Pokemon at E3, and I really feel like it's because this time around, though they had a couple 3DS titles, I really still feel like their focus is on trying to wow people and win them over to the Wii U. I'm at this point, I really do feel like you're maybe rearranging some chairs on the Titanic. I think leveraging the power of the 3DS and its install base would be for the best. But I also think, and I talk with my buddy Brian about this all the time. I don't know who is the person that advises them how to name their consoles, but they need to fire that person. There's just no way to really.
That's Mark from accounting. You can't fire Mark.
In the industry to understand that it's time to buy a new console. When you buy a PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation 4 comes out, you implicitly get, oh, I guess I need to buy a new one. When you go from the Wii to the Wii U, you don't get that feeling. When you go from the 3DS to the new 3DS, you're just like, well, it's still a 3DS. I already have one of those.
Yeah.
And they didn't launch it with a lot of titles that were required. They launched it with Codename Steam, which was optimized for the new 3DS. Utilized its processing power, but you basically just got punished for playing it on a normal 3DS with its longer loading times. But they don't.
There was that one title.
Energy.
Was it Xenoblade? Was it Xenoblade Chronicles that required the new 3DS? You couldn't play it.
It's the first game that required the new 3DS, but it didn't come out at launch.
Was that they had the Monster Hunter tie-in that utilized the second analog, right? The nub.
But if you had a Circle Pad Pro on your, you could still achieve the same functionality.
Yeah, I think there are more people that have Loch Ness monsters in their basement than Circle Pad Pros. They,
I would believe that. I would agree.
But no, I think the naming for the original Wii was absolutely brilliant. I think the naming for the Wii U was absolutely atrocious. I agree with you, Josh. I think they did themselves no favors. The name itself is counterproductive. We and then you. No, they need to figure out what they're doing. But the new, the rumored code name for the new console, and I want to clear it will not be called the NX.
I wish it would be.
I think we've decrypted that the X stands for 10. That this will be Nintendo's 10th actual platform. The internet nerds are usually about 10% right, and that's a really good percentage. is that Nintendo will sort of exit the console market, the home console market. And I don't know if I believe this, but the idea of a sustained unified platform that would basically be a portable and a home console would be fascinating. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that Nintendo's time as a home console manufacturer is at an end. They're just not as relevant as they used to be, but their dominance in the portable market is unquestioning. They've survived every single attempt at dethroning throughout 30 years. They've survived smartphones. They've survived everything. People still want dedicated mobile platforms. Maybe they don't sell 600 million, but they sell enough to make Nintendo profitable. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Okay, guys, we're up against the top of the hour break here, so we're going to do that and then come right back, okay? You're listening to the Computer America Show. It's our coverage of E3. Managing editor of Popzara Magazine, Nathan Evans, is here with us. Also, Josh Boykin, who's out at the E3 convention. He's also joining us as well. If you have a comment or question, give us a call at 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you new. Another news test bullet review from Marty Winston. It's all coming up. Stay tuned.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on with our E3 coverage. Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara Magazine, is here with us discussing all the things that are being shown at the E3 convention. Josh Boykin out at E3, also reporting in, talking about all the different things. If you have a comment or a question or a suggestion about anything we're talking about tonight, give us a call, 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. Our chat room also is open to you. Just go to ComputerAmerica.com, click on the Show Lounge /chat selection at the menu, and it'll take you right into the Computer America chat room. Just it'll ask you for a username. It'll say want to chat, just type a name in and you're in. It's really simple. A lot of people are in there. Would love to have you in there as well. So let's continue on. Ben, where did we leave off? He was I think Nathan was just finishing a topic
about Nintendo potentially leaving the console market, which at this point, really, like, the only way for them to catch up is to just kind of throw their hands up and say, all right, we fell behind, let's get back on track. Like, they'd have to do some kind of grand romantic gesture to console gamers to kind of show that, all right, we realize that we are a generation behind. Even with the new console, we're a step behind, and we have been for a decade. And then they're gonna have to show that, just as you were saying earlier, that yes, they're already open to independent developers. They're already open to integrating a lot of different technology, streaming to YouTube and all this kind of stuff. But then they're going to have to actually start pushing out some content. And like all this, I just don't see Nintendo having the ability to take a step back, look at it, and say, all right, here's our new console. Here are the new titles, everything upgraded, and we are now competitive. Like, I don't see them doing that.
Well, you know what? One thing that was missing from E3, to me, one thing that was shockingly absent from Nintendo's booth, from everything else, was the lack of any announcement of mobile games. I don't mean 3DS games. I mean mobile games, smartphone games. There was an announcement earlier this year that Nintendo would now publish games on iOS and possibly Android. And there's been rumors circulating. Again, I want to go back to that 10% of the nerd crowd that says Nintendo might actually adopt Android in their next operating system. If that happens, I'll eat my shoes. But it might. I've been wrong before.
They did dispel that.
Yeah, did they dispel? Okay, thank you. There's no way Nintendo is going to put their games on a platform that is bootlegged to high hell. So, but the idea, see, Nintendo partnered with a very popular mobile company called DNA, And the idea was that they would start, I don't know the timeline, Josh, maybe you do, that they would start releasing actual Nintendo software on mobile. Was it this year, at least one title? And
I don't recall.
what's that?
I don't recall.
Oh.
He
Yeah,
didn't recall, but I remember hearing the same thing. But the thing that was disappointing about that, though, was that they said it would not be a port of their existing titles. It would be all new media.
Yes, but it would be using Nintendo IP. And for anybody who thinks Nintendo hasn't done this before, Nintendo is a fascinating company. You don't get to outlast all of your rivals by doing the wrong things. And they've never followed the trend. They're one of a handful of companies that has been very successful. I want to be clear. Nintendo is the only company that makes video games that makes a profit off their hardware. Sony doesn't do it. Microsoft doesn't do it. Only Nintendo. They even made a profit off the Wii U. Go figure. Makes me wonder how overpriced it is. But the fact of the matter is, back in 1991, 1992, Nintendo was originally going to work with Sony to make the PlayStation. That schismed off. Nintendo went with Philips instead. There was an atrocious piece of hardware that came out called the Philips CDI. If any of you don't know what that is, look it up, get some popcorn, and watch Legend of Zelda. It is horrible. It is terrible. It is the worst thing Nintendo's ever done. Yeah. But I think it had to happen for a reason. Because Nintendo, who is widely known as making some of, if not the best video games ever made, has also made some of the worst. And I think when you look at the atrocities of allowing other people to develop your intellectual property, you kind of get a little gun shy. You don't want to do it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And these games were so bad that the idea that Nintendo would ever allow another company to develop without their supervision isn't possible. And I want to be clear. Star Fox is not being developed only by Nintendo. Smash Brothers was not developed only by Nintendo. Nintendo has a very long history of partnering with companies. And the interesting thing is, any company that Nintendo partners with is the best thing that a company has ever done. Some of the best things that Sega has ever produced have been under Nintendo's watchful eye. The only reason we're still talking about Sonic the Hedgehog without laughing is because of his inclusion in Smash Brothers. Same for Pac-Man. And on that note, I will say this, Josh, one thing that made me smile. I know Josh is a big Smash Brothers fan. All that new content coming to Smash Brothers, and it's going to be paid DLC. Welcome to 2009, Nintendo. You're going to have, you're going to have Street Fighter characters in Smash Brothers. You're going to have Tekken and Virtual Fighter in Smash Brothers. It's a big gala. It's an orgy of video games. But when it goes back to this, I can see Nintendo being a little gun shy. But the idea that they would partner with people, and again, another crossover was that the amiibos, I don't know if you know what amiibos are, but those little plastic figurines with data on them, they're now going to be compatible with Skylanders, which is a direct competitor to a lot of Nintendo stuff on Nintendo platforms. This is a new Nintendo. This is a very open Nintendo that I've never seen before. I've never seen Nintendo be so open. Theme parks, toys, crossovers, mobile games. It almost makes you wonder why they even need a platform anymore. And Josh, maybe you'll get your wish. Maybe you'll see Mario on a PlayStation at some point. I wouldn't put it past them. But
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to hold my breath, but one never knows.
I guess I feel like Nintendo is doing. I actually interviewed with Astro today, who's their a high-end gaming headset company, and they've adapted to the market. And it's almost as if Astro has become a lifestyle brand that they have applied to a number of products. They they say that they have 73%, I believe, 73 or 78% of the market of over $200 headsets. They're pretty much they're a majority preferred brand for professional competitive gaming. Or I should say competitive gaming, because when I was talking with them, they were talking about how they really feel like they need to redefine the concept of professional gamer. That typically when we talk about professional gamers, we think of people who are competitive in tournaments. But that professional is switching to people who are live streamers, people who do YouTube commentary videos. There's an entire other range of people who need quality headsets that are also technically professional gamers. So they've adapted to be able to fit some of those molds, and so they sell, they sell a lightweight mobile headset. They sell Actually, most of their headsets are pretty light anyway, but they sell a lightweight mobile headset. They sell a kind of understated leather jacket that has patches that you can swap out, because when these professional gamers have sponsors, they might need to change the sponsor on their jacket, and they don't want to have to buy a new jacket, so they want to be able to just swap out the tag or the patch or whatever. I think that Astro has been able to corner a lot of that high-end market because they've understood that their consumer base is a lot broader than what they had originally intended. I think that Nintendo is starting to make that same acknowledgement, and so they're saying, okay, really, people love Nintendo's characters, people love Nintendo's atmosphere, people love Nintendo's energy. It's not necessarily that they have to appeal to you, to people who are going to go out and spend $250, $300 on a console, and then multiple $50, $60 things for controllers, and then $50, $60 a game for the games. There's an entire world that they can be reaching by utilizing their IP correctly. And I think you're right. It's fantastic to see them broadening that perspective and really, getting Mario out there, getting Luigi and Peach and Pokemon and all of those other IPs.
Yes.
Honestly, everybody and their mother is doing connected figures right now. The Warner Brothers is working on Lego Dimensions, which is also another, hey, you can buy an action figure, it's got a chip that you can use to play in the game thing. And though that's a really cool concept because they're going to be using all of their different universes. You've got DC, you've got Marvel, you've got all sorts of crazy things. It's cool, but Nintendo really paved the way with Amiibo because Skylanders has been popular, but man, has Amiibo blown up.
Yes. I actually sent Josh an Amiibo. I sent him his favorite character in the mail, and he was so happy. He said, "Nathan, I'll work for you for free for it." No, I'm kidding. It turned out but Princess Peach is pretty popular as an Amiibo, right? As a collectible, or at least one without the legs.
Ish. Yeah. No, mine has legs.
She has legs. I'm so sorry. I should have took the legs off. Then she'd be
right. Right. Just rip them off.
But you know what's funny, guys? The fact is that if you've grown up around this stuff, I was at Walmart the other day and I was looking at the Amiibos, and I was shocked to see Sonic the Hedgehog as an Amiibo. I was shocked to see Pac-Man as an Amiibo, and it brought up a little tear to my eye because at one point in time in the history of video games, if we're going to anthropomorphize these companies and make them seem more than just corporate megaloths, is that Sega used to be a competitor to Nintendo. At one point, a serious competitor. Not so much anymore. Now they rely on Nintendo. And you look at Pac-Man. I love Pac-Man. I can't wait to see. I'm even going to see Pixels with Adam Sandler just because Pac-Man's in it. But the fact is, nobody cares about Pac-Man unless we're talking about Smash Brothers. You have a whole generation where Nintendo sort of is the survivor, and as the only legitimate Japanese developer anymore, the only legitimate worldwide class developer from Japan in an industry that was birthed out of Japan, that it sort of makes them the standard bearer for nostalgia. And it's a heavy weight on their shoulders. And the worst thing that could ever happen to this world, the worst thing that could ever happen to the gaming industry, if Nintendo just stopped being Nintendo. They're frustrating. They don't do things the way you think they should, the way I think they should. They don't follow the trends. They don't have everything the way everyone else has them. But doing so would erase their identity. And you look at their trade show, they don't have corporatism and multi-culti diversity on the stage and the right combination to make everyone happy. They have puppets. They have puppets, or they have stop-motion animation from Robot Chicken, or they have Miyamoto popping out of a tube, or playing with an orchestra with a bow tie. This is a gaming company. Mm-hmm. They are not an electronic company. They are not a computer company. They are a video game company, and they're the only ones left. So if Nintendo can continue to make money doing things in their strange, wacky way, as long as they have someone like Shigeru Miyamoto, which I think Josh would agree is probably the most important developer who's ever existed in the gaming industry, and when he goes, it'll be a sad day. As long as they have this combination of talent, and they continue to do weird and wacky things, and as much as I want to see Nintendo games expand, as long as a company out there is that crazy and that insane, that they can make the most popular character in the world an overweight Italian plumber, then let them go until the wheels fall off. Because it's going to be a sad day when I play Legend of Zelda and there's an in-game advertisement for Mountain Dew and Game Fuel. I never want to see that happen. Never.
Wow.
I agree with you. I hope it never gets to that point, but for everything that Nintendo isn't doing right, it's doing a lot of things. It's doing a lot of things, though, perfectly fine. And I this was announced at E3, but I am, about an hour away from Disneyland, and like I am really looking forward to everything Nintendo has to do in not just in games anymore, but just seeing more of Nintendo everywhere. I think everyone could do with a little bit more Nintendo, and I'm glad that they're coming and they showed at E3 that they're coming out of their bubble and they're willing to give people more Nintendo.
We agree.
We make Nintendo seem like a drug, but but when you look at them, it's about magic mushrooms that make you grow and blink and rainbow roads. I mean, who's to say? Maybe it is a drug.
Better experience on drugs, maybe. Who knows?
Well, like I said, at some point they're going to come out with a controller that looks like a mushroom, and you're going to sit on a pipe, and you're going to have to wear. And at the end of the day, the world is a better place because Nintendo and this team is in it. They may not occupy the top spot for anybody anymore, but again, let them do what they're doing. They will be missed when they're gone.
Wow.
And may that never happen. May there always be Mario games.
Well, and since we had yet another lull, Josh, you were out there, and you aren't just another spectator. Like we can sit out here and we can watch all of these, we can see all the keynotes and all the releases, and we kind of sit back and enjoy it. But you're out there actually interviewing people. So and I'm not asking you to spoil all of the articles you're writing for us right now. But is there anyone out there that you got a chance to talk to that you'd like to kind of talk about?
Well, I've been spending time trying to get my hands on a wide swath of games. Cory and Herman, two of the other Popzara writers, have spent more time at the big three. They've also hit up some other places too, but I generally tend to shy away from the big three because I know that whatever they're putting out, I'm going to see. But I like to try and float around to areas that may either get less coverage or just are kind of that diamond in the rough type experience.
Yeah.
I definitely there are actually two parts of the show. And I'm sorry this isn't interview connected, but I do feel like they're worth talking about. There are two parts of the show that I love every year that I just do not think get enough recognition. One of them is Into the Pixel, which is an art exhibit. It's a big art display of video game themed art, and it's gorgeous, and some of it is just really
it's beautiful.
Really
yeah.
Thought-provoking. I'm sorry?
No, I was going to say I agree with you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really a gorgeous experience, and to people who might say that, and I don't even want to entertain the debate anymore because I don't think it's a useful conversation, but to those who would say that games are not art, the art that is spawned from games certainly is. And it's inspired by, I saw a number of pieces in the press room that were inspired by the Banner Saga, which was a Kickstarter funded turn-based RPG based in sort of a Viking Norse-esque background. I saw some other things that I believe were Final Fantasy related, and it's really great to have a space where when the show floor of E3 proper is all lights and a heavy, really involved sound and invasive sound, and everything's moving and flashing. It's nice to have a space where you can kind of slow down and appreciate just how far we've come in gaming and how inspirational these characters, these stories, these worlds that people are building really are. It's absolutely gorgeous, and if you have a chance to look it up, I definitely recommend Into the Pixel. The other place that I really enjoy is Indiecade. It's an entire section of it's a smaller but growing section of the show floor that's dedicated to indie games. And that's where you're going to see some of the wackiest, some of the most innovative, some of the craziest games. I played actually one called, I believe it's called Shambara, and it's really this really interesting. It's a 2v2 kind of a ninja game. So you've got a white team and a black team, and the world is very much you have like a neon pink or whatever. We played in a level called Neo Tokyo, but otherwise the world itself is a lot of black and white polygons. So you're running around on this 3D map, and it's kind of like a first-person shooter. You're basically trying to run in and swipe your opponents with a sword, except your characters are, like, if your character is black, your character is like a static black, and the world around it can also be black, and then your character vanishes. Or if your character is white and you're standing up against a white wall, then your character vanishes. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's a weird form of almost hide and seek mixed with tag in a way that feels very kind of futuristic. If anybody's seen the game White Knight, White Night, it's that same style of a very high contrast environment, and it was tons of fun to play. Just sat down with 3 other people on a couch, and it was intuitive. It was a lot of fun. Those are the areas that I really enjoy, and hope that people will take some time to kind of do some research on what's there.
Yes.
As far as some of the things that were a little more mainstream, I did spend a lot of time at the Warner Brothers booth. They brought 4 games to the show. They brought the Lego Dimensions, which I brought up earlier, but I didn't get a chance to play. They also brought the Lego Marvel The Avengers, which is based on the storylines from the 2 Avengers movies. They brought Mad Max, which had a small playable demo. And then Batman Arkham Knight, which was one of the ones that I had been waiting to play for a while. Lego The Avengers was pretty much what you'd expect from a Lego game. They're kind of fun, kind of approachable, but this one, I have to say, it didn't leave a great impression on me. They started pretty deep into the gameplay, and we're trying to show all the different ways that the Avengers interact and work as a team, and they place you pretty close to the end of the first movie, where the portal is about to open in New York City, and all the spoilers happen. I don't know. Do I even have to respect spoilers for the original Avengers at this point?
Nope. Nope.
No, I think you're pretty much done. Like, Age of Ultron came out, and people have talked about it, and it's not even like an actual spoiler. It's not that relevant. Like, it's gonna happen, but I can't tell. Like, I still get upset when people tell me about the ending to The Sixth Sense and how long that had to watch that movie.
Josh, they've announced like 20 other Marvel movies, so we can like, anybody who hasn't seen any of the Avengers movies knows that the right people will die, they'll come back to life, and there'll be a sequel. So there'll be 19 more sequels. Hey, did they show Lego Universe at Warner Brothers? I know people have been talking about that, but did they show it at all or talk about it?
Lego Universe, the kind of Minecraft-y game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not see it at the show, no.
It was released on Steam Early Access, and I thought that was interesting because normally you don't see high-profile developers or publishers release stuff on Early Access. It's mostly for the most notorious indie developers.
My comment on that was when I saw that, I said, why is Lego is copying Minecraft? Or I mean the game that they came out was so much like Minecraft.
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
They have Lego sets with Minecraft. I mean, Minecraft, Lego's a money juggernaut. Lego is gigantic, and Josh, this is kind of funny. So they have a Lego Marvel game coming out, but there's also a Lego clone, so to speak, of Skylanders and Disney Infinity, but the actual Marvel characters will be in the Disney Infinity game and not the Lego game, right?
I believe so. For some reason, I was under the impression that Marvel characters were going to be in Lego Dimensions.
It's so confusing. Like, they have, have all these toy sets, and none of the toys work together. Seems like a missed opportunity.
Well, that is so the supposed appeal of Lego Dimensions is that it kind of does satisfy that urge of I have all of these different characters that I wish were in the same sandbox. Disney Infinity 3.0, with their inclusion of the Star Wars franchises, is going to start trying to scratch that itch as well. I think Skylanders is probably the only one that's kind of behind, except we already talked about how there's going to be some amiibo functionality in Skylanders. I think everybody's kind of getting that feeling of, because I mean, even I don't know if I'm aging myself because I didn't grow up with an iPad, but everybody had those 5 action figures from completely disparate universes and a Green Army Man and 2 I don't know, empty paper towel rolls, and that was the universe that you were going to create for your playset for the day, right?
Yes.
I think people are trying to find ways to create those experiences. I'm still a little depressed that none of these, moldable or none of these, interactive figures seem to be posable.
Yes.
They're all static figures, and I want them to have joints. I want them to be usable as
real action figures.
Yes.
Standalone models.
For $15, they should do something. But no, they're just static, and it's funny because I'm not going to play the game myself because I don't have time for it. But when you look at the Lego ones, like you were talking about before, you're going to have Batman. You're going to have, I think, Harry Potter. Is that true? You're going to have Superman. You're going to have Doctor Who. That's a lot of variety in one game, and you don't get that variety in Skylanders. You get Nintendo stuff in Nintendo games, and I think the only other one is the Disney one where you have, Disney universes. There's no Kermit the Frog yet, but I wouldn't put it past them. But no, I think the Lego one looks interesting. I agree with you, Craig. I'm surprised it took Lego this long to realize its full potential as a video game franchise. But I'm glad it's here.
Yeah.
Well, they have released a lot of good video games, and especially with their movie being a huge success. They're Lego. They were popular back in the late '90s, mid '90s, and they were kind of in the back of everyone's mind. They never went away, but they were just that old Lego playset. But now they're really reinventing themselves. They're so much more than just the the little plastic blocks. They're doing good.
I got to correct you because Legos were the crap. They were amazing in the 80s. They were great in the 70s. Legos have been around.
Well, I wasn't there for that, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you were, you'd be playing with Legos, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and if you were really progressive, Gem and Barbie. But anything that can get all this stuff put together is pretty cool. I like the synergy. I like seeing Harry Potter and Batman. I like seeing Marvel and Disney. I like seeing Super Mario and Ryu from Street Fighter. Okay, I kind of love that idea. But I want to, I'd like this. Video games should be fun. They should be fun, and they shouldn't be team this or team that. I just love the idea of what's coming. And nothing makes people better bedfellows than financial crashes. So if things start crashing, you're going to see a lot more crossovers.
Fair enough. Okay, well, here's something that we haven't had a chance to talk about, and that is probably one of the biggest games as soon as it comes out, and that's going to be the Fallout 4, or Fallout 4, which is of course sequel to Fallout 3. Very, very popular. Was announced a couple days before E3, but we actually got to see some gameplay from, well, I know we got the trailer, and I think we got some gameplay as well. But Josh, hopefully you caught Fallout 4, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we saw some gameplay for Fallout 4 during the Microsoft presser. I'm not sure about the Bethesda presser. I missed that one, but realistically, Fallout 4 is going to be huge. I have tons of friends who just talk about it, and it's going to be a big game. I do think that in a lot of ways it does. Cory mentioned it feels very Fallout 3. And I think that's okay. I think that there are, especially when it comes to a sequel, you do have to strike a delicate balance between how much do I give consumers the experience that they're used to, and how much innovation can I apply as a result. This Fallout to me feels much more fluid. It feels much more capable as a shooter. I don't know. I didn't bother manually aiming most any time that I was playing Fallout 3 because using the VAT kind of auto-aiming RPG-esque system was just much more effective, and I would do a lot more damage. But it seems like this game is kind of crafted to have more experiences where you're going and having that action-packed run-and-gun type moment. I really think it's going to be good. I mean, I don't think that this. I mean, yes, this level of hype can build for Duke Nukem Forever, but I don't think that we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna get that experience from Bethesda. I'm excited about Fallout 4, but I also I have to admit that I want to know more about the story. A friend of mine was talking about how.
Well, I'll tell you what, Josh, we're gonna put you on hold, and we're at the bottom of the hour again, and then we'll continue on. You listen to the Computer America Show. It's our E3 coverage with Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara Magazine, and Josh Boykin. We'll be back with them right after this. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hey, do your parents know you're here? Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, iFixit Spudgers and Picks. Did you ever need to open the case on a piece of gear that was designed to discourage any user ever opening it? From the den of metaphorical safe-cracking tools of iFixit.com, we got in three beauties to review. The Spudger is a plastic stick, pointy at one end and bladed like a flat screwdriver at the other, with a small hook gap along one side of the blade. With it, small holes and skinny gaps become a fair starting point for the process of separating case halves. A large, heavy-duty spudger helps with slightly larger gaps, like the ones we always see that are just a little too small to fit a screwdriver. The iFixit opening picks have about the same footprint as a guitar pick, but they're thicker, except at the three corners, which taper down to rounded blades that are very adept at slicing into the adhesive that holds many cases together. Bottom line, the iFixit spudger, heavy-duty spudger, and opening picks are great prosecutors for reopening closed cases. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yeah, and just wanted to apologize, beforehand, before we get back to our E3 coverage with Nate Evans and Josh Boykin, that we might have dropped Josh just for a second.
Josh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, perfect. Okay, never mind. He's good. He's in his corner. He's good. He's good. All right. So tonight is all about E3. And we're going over, some of the bigger announcements. Although I did receive your email, Nate, about, we were just talking about Fallout 4 and all that good stuff. And we did see a little bit of the trailers that we had playing in our background. But what is this that you linked me about the Fallout shelter? Because it looks strange, but in a good way.
Well, the recent trend is to use apps as advertising. And when they announced Fallout 4, big announcement, they announced that there's going to be a super expensive wearable collection where you'll get I think it's called the PIP. It's a little wearable watch, and it'll correspond with what happens in the game. But millions of people have phones, and since most people tend to pick iOS first, the tie-in app is called Fallout Shelter, and it just came out for the compatible iPhones. And it's a little playable game where you can create your own shelter, and you could have all sorts of fun activities. My iPod can't play it, so I'm kind of out of luck. But eventually, from what I understand, the game will eventually sync with Fallout 4 when it comes out, and an Android version is most likely forthcoming. And it's just another way to keep you hyped right now. And this is kind of cool, whether you like it or not. The fact is, it encourages companies to sort of diversify and to take the game with you. We talked about that band I told you that somebody's making for Minecraft, where they can take their Minecraft score with you. For me, I can't imagine anything less useful. But if I was a hardcore Minecraft fan, I'd be all over it. And apparently the Fallout Shelter game is very popular already. And it's free. So it's a free advertising, little tie-in gimmicky game to get you addicted to Fallout before it comes out. So is it any good? I wish I could play it, but I can't. But if you can show it, the artwork looks great. Where else can you sort of survive and build your vault and repopulate? So apparently it's a love nest. Looks a little like Tiny Towers, which of course had all sorts of spin-off games.
I wanted to ask that one question of Nate and also maybe of Josh. Again, I was watching the Last Guardian video that's up on Insider. And it has almost like a little bit of a foggy. It almost reminded me a little bit of Mist. Everything was kind of surrounded in this light fog. And now it was a trailer that I was watching, or is the game going to actually play like that, where you have control of the little kid, or that's where we are at?
I'll let Josh handle this, but I would just say, Craig, from everything of the developers' old games, I would say all that looks like an artistic choice, and I don't think anything we've seen of the game is CGI. I think it's all in-game graphics that have been around for a few years. That the game was originally developed on the PlayStation 3, but Josh, I think you actually know more about The Last Guardian than I do.
Yeah, the Last Guardian is very much it's a stylized game. If you look at a couple of games that it's sort of either the spiritual or direct sequel to, I'm not sure, but Ico and Shadow of the Colossus both do kind of have that foggy, ethereal,
right.
Kind of mystical or mist-like feeling to them, and it's part of the atmosphere. It feels very surreal, very serene at the same time as it's kind of awe-inspiring too. So I think that's a big part of it. Did you feel like that kind of stuck out to you, or something you were interested in, Craig?
Yeah, it was, and again, but I couldn't tell if I'm watching a cinematics or is the actual control going to be of the little kid who's running around, and you can control how he's moving like we see in the trailer. Is it going to be like that? That's what I was kind of curious about.
Yeah, you'll be controlling the kid as you go around and explore the different environments, and you also will be able to give commands to the kind of companion character.
Okay. I found it kind of appealing. I mean, it was a much more upscale. A more modern version of the game of Myst, of course, but because the way the cameras were panning around. and moving him, I felt that, you know, and he was jumping. You know, it looks like you have control over what the character does, and we were just not watching a cinematic, but we were actually watching the actual gameplay.
If you have a chance, Craig, go back when you have some time and look at gameplay footage of old PlayStation 2 games, like Josh mentioned, Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, and visually they're very similar. And in the case of Shadow of the Colossus, some people have noted that the game may have been a little too ambitious for the hardware. That it was, you know, but the gameplay itself was still spot on, and there's literally nothing else like them. There's nothing else like them, and so I'm excited about Last Guardian, but I'm not as excited as I should be because I was promised this game years and years and years ago, and it never came out. So
Is it in fact coming out? Have they've affirmed that this is?
That's it. They're saying it's finally coming. So we'll see. They said this 5 years ago, but
and what platform is it for?
PlayStation 4 exclusive.
But it is a PlayStation 4 exclusive.
Yes.
Okay.
But like I said, it was originally slated to come out years ago on the PlayStation 3, and then development hell, of course. But if it comes out, it comes out. You know, the great Shigeru Miyamoto, we talked about him. He said, you know, a bad game is bad forever, but a good game is only delayed till it comes out. So this is a man notorious for delaying all his Zeldas. So I will take that attitude to the bank.
Okay. Good. So if there was you know, and a lot of these conventions have an underlying theme to them. You know, obviously E3. Was there any particular? Did you sense any kind of an underlying theme with this year's E3? That
video game.
Video game. I know, but is there anything in particular that might kind of stand out?
Josh,
there's definitely a big. Am I here?
Yeah, you're
here. Yeah. Okay. Now you guys got me worried. I'm like, am I?
You're questioning your reality. Am I here? Yes, you're here. Okay.
But are we here?
How much time around video games? I don't know. It's it's all a dream, which we can talk about later. I think the big, the kind of up and coming thing, or what everybody's excited about, is VR. There are a number of different VR headset makers out there. Oculus has a presence there. I think they're called Vuzix is another one that's out there. There are a number of people. Even Indiecade has a section dedicated to games that are compatible with Oculus, Google Cardboard, things like that. There very much is this sense that that's kind of the next big thing. I tried a peripheral called Nod, NOD, which is it's a ring-shaped peripheral. You wear it around like your index finger, and it's got 5 small pressure-sensitive surfaces. So imagine that you've got a ring, but the ring has a flat top. So there are 3 buttons on that top, and then both the left and the right sides are their own buttons. But while you're wearing this ring, imagine that you're turning a knob to the right with your hand. As you make that motion, you might make a character go forward. If you turn that to the left, you make the character go back. You can press one of the buttons and you fire. When you point your hand, you're pointing the character on the screen. So I did play this little demo of a shooter where I was wearing the Oculus Rift, and then was able to point and shoot with this view peripheral, or with this Nod peripheral, and it was pretty intense. It was kind of fun. I think that there are a lot of people who are questioning what VR's place is going to be in the space, and you're asking people to buy potentially a new piece of hardware, and there may not be regardless of whether the partnership is with Oculus or whether it's a HoloLens or whatever, there are going to be a number of different platforms with which people can experience VR. So are they really going to be willing to strap on a headset and disappear from the world, and not know what's going on around them? Because there is a sense when you're wearing a headset that you kind of forget about the world outside of your headset, and you're supposed to, right? It's immersion.
Yeah.
But it is also, it's weird. I don't know. What do you think, Nate?
Well, one thing that Josh didn't tell you is that the side effect of wearing that ring and playing that game and stroking it for a couple hours is that you'll go bald, you'll shrink, and you'll turn into a miscreant little hobbit. And if someone takes away your ring, you'll get really angry. So, no, I think Josh make a very good point.
I've heard that story somewhere.
What's that?
I've heard that story somewhere. It's
yeah, somewhere before. I
mean, yeah.
I heard they were supposed to make 3 movies, but it didn't. But no, Josh brings up a salient point. Josh, you bring up the best point I've heard all night. The control in VR. Now, I want to go back, and I want to give you my last thoughts on this. You were joking before, Ben, when you said games, but you're right. You see, the last couple E3s have been sort of rancid on this, is that they really haven't concentrated on the games like they should have. We see these boxes being used as entertainment boxes and DVRs and television pumps and all this stuff. The focus this year was on games. Even when they showed AR, it was with games. When they showed Oculus, it was with games. Sony had a little thing about PlayStation Vue TV, but screw that. It's about the games, where it should be. This is a gaming conference. You want tech, go to CES. So, but as far as the Oculus, a big trend has been getting to have these conferences earlier and earlier and earlier because they don't want their news to be lost in the shuffle when the big guys launch everything. And that's why I was astonished we didn't even mention Fallout until halfway through the show, because we kind of forgot about it a little bit, because it was last week, and last week may as well have been last year. And Oculus had their pre-E3 show as well. And to Josh's point, one of the big things they focused on was virtual reality controls, and they have these touch controls. And again, I don't know if Nod knew this or not. Nod knew this, get it? But they had rings to help control your virtuality in space. But they're also going to pack the Oculus with an Xbox One controller to be safe. So on one hand, literally, they're going to have these experiments with motion control and sensory and all this. But on the other hand, they kind of acknowledge they're not quite ready for prime time yet. And so I think for the first couple of years, if virtual reality doesn't go by the way of the dodo, we're still going to be playing with a game controller or a keyboard and mouse. And that's okay to me as long as it doesn't cost a lot. But I'm a skeptic, Josh, and guys, you know this on the show. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm a Luddite when it comes to this. But if I'm wrong, I hope I am. But I don't want gimmicks. I don't want really good ideas to be turned into gimmicks because of poor implementation. One thing we didn't talk about is Steam and Valve. They also have virtual reality coming out. So by my count, Oculus, Microsoft, Sony, Steam, who knows who else? Nothing's compatible. There's no standardization. Either one of these things works or none of them do. And I don't want another continuation of the last couple trends. We saw this with 3D. We saw this with motion control. They keep throwing gimmicks at the wall, and who suffers? We're going to have a whole generation of gimmicky games that aren't as fun to play because they foster bad controls, bad implementation, $1,000 VR glasses. At the end of the day, make the game play well, make VR optional until they get it right, and I think we can talk. But I'm not Grayson Hamilton, who's all into this. If he's listening, Grayson, you are all in, brother. But he's played Oculus Rift, and I haven't, so maybe I'm wrong. And if it's good enough for Josh and Grayson, maybe it's good enough for me.
I think that's the catch, is that there's a certain experience to VR that when you've actually put the headset on, it feels like a different experience. Unfortunately, I think the same way that benefited the Wii is the way that it hamstringed the Wii U. That the simple, intuitive, motion-sensitive controller of the Wii was a breath of fresh air to people who wanted to approach gaming but were intimidated by these complex, multiple shoulder button, multiple analog stick controllers. So there was something about the simple interface of the Wii controller that was really appealing. It was intuitive, and VR has that same experience. When you put that headset on, regardless of whether you're using a controller or whether you're wearing a ring or whatever, it feels intuitive. There's something approachable about it. And there are a number of instances that I can see it being appealing for beyond gaming. I believe that during CES, I think Grayson was talking about a virtual tour of like a Roman Colosseum or something like that he was able to see with the assistance of either Oculus Rift or Samsung.
Oh, yes.
But I think it is very much that immersion experience. Now, I do agree that the drawback to the Wii is that now they really need to move on from that. I really think that the biggest problem with the Wii U is the Wii remote. That there's not an expectation that an owner of a Wii U is going to have a Pro controller. And so, and the Pro controller is what basically is their take on an Xbox 360 controller. Because you can't really anticipate as a developer that your consumer is going to have that controller. You can't design your game with that in mind without possibly, taking a pretty heavy risk. I think that the difference with VR is that VR is part of the experience, and there's just it's not a tool that you use to get into the experience, it's the experience itself. So this isn't something that you are slapping onto a 360 or slapping onto a PS4, except I guess they kind of are with Project Morpheus and HoloLens.
Not yet. Well, and they're
the software that are going to be
it's coming to Xbox. Yeah, you're exactly right. They need to coordinate the way it's implemented and I stand by my statement. It needs to be complementary and not total immersion. And gamers are a very weird bunch. On one hand, they'll decry, oh, another Call of Duty, but then they'll go out and buy the damn thing by the millions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nintendo doesn't make new games. They don't make new games, but they'll go buy Smash Brothers and Mario. Like, they forget that not everybody is so obsessive about these things that if maybe you pick up Call of Duty this year, maybe that's the first Call of Duty you played in 5 years. I'll admit, a couple weeks ago I was a little sick. I cracked out the PS4 and I played Call of Duty Advanced War. It's the first Call of Duty game I played in 4 years. I went and played The Last of Us on the PlayStation 4. I had missed it on the PlayStation 3. I enjoyed it, but even though it was technically older, I'm not an obsessive gamer anymore. And not everybody who plays games obsessively understands that. So I would say make this stuff work. Maybe it doesn't have to be, Angela Lansbury Murder, She Wrote perfection. If anybody gets that reference, I will give you a cookie.
Nope.
But it needs to work good enough to the point where it's not a burden. It's not a burden, and I will explain. Since that was so complex, I will explain it. There was an episode of Murder, She Wrote that came out 20 years ago, a whole episode back in the 1993, where Angela Lansbury wore virtual reality and she played a game, and it looks exactly like Oculus Rift.
Huh.
That was 20 years ago. Sega had a virtual reality headset. 20 years ago, even Nintendo, the only failure they've ever really had was virtual reality. 20 years later, come on, guys, let's get it right this time, please. The future has been waiting for a long time. Make it work.
Didn't you see the movie Disclosure with Michael Douglas, Demi Moore? Yeah, remember that? It was
yes.
Sexual harassment, but the point is, they were showing off technology that was years away, and one of them was the virtual reality device that he wore. And he stood on the little treadmill and
yes.
interacted with it. That was amazing. That movie was made in the late '90s. So
that movie came out right. That movie came out right at the time that I was talking about, the early, 1994, 1995,
yes,
because that was the big thing. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was going to happen. Excuse me.
There were
Disney had a virtual reality ride. You could put on virtual headsets.
There were more devices.
What was that?
There were more devices shown in that movie.
No. Oh, back. We're not here to talk about movies. We have 5 more minutes left of the 3.
Yes.
No.
I will say this, but look, if you're going to talk about movies being precocious, there's only one movie you need to know. Back to the Future Part 2. It's shocking how much of that stuff in their fake 2015 is real. I mean, video games was a big part of that movie. Remember? Little Elijah Wood made fun of Marty McFly. He says, you got to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy. And here we are playing video games with 5,000 hand controllers. I'm sorry, Elijah. You're wrong. We still want hand controllers. forever.
All right. Well, just to
Forever.
throw in my 2 cents on the whole Oculus Rift thing, and all the virtual reality, I think that the controls can come later, like the perfecting of all that kind of stuff. Even the technology we have today might not be there for extremely low latency, which you really need, for good gesture control, for good hand control, for all that good stuff. That might not be here for a couple of years, but you can still have really nice, unique experiences with virtual reality in terms of, like, let's say a horror movie that you experience and not just view. Like, you can have really good experiences that are purely virtual reality, and hopefully that catches on enough that it'll stick around until the technology matures.
Yes, good point. Technology doesn't have to be perfect to be useful. What Josh talked about the Wii remote. Let's be honest here. It was nothing special. It was a very, very basic gyrometer, but in fact, it wasn't even that accurate. But when you when you felt like you were swinging, even though it might not have been one-to-one accurate, it was still so amazing that you could do something like this in a video game. And when Nintendo even perfected the technology years later with the Wii Remote Plus and made it much more accurate, no one cared, because it goes back to a theory that they call the uncanny valley, as it applies to prosthetics and fake recreations of people. And this theory goes that the more realistic something gets, the faker it looks. It's because all the things that make you human, all the things that make you interesting, you don't understand what they are. You see a nose, you see eyes, you see this, and you say, well, if I replicate that, it'll be a real person. You do that, hey, why does it look like a freak? It looks like a Michael Jackson mask. It doesn't look real. But you look at Pixar animation, and they got frogs and blobs and bubbles and robots, and they look completely real because they capture the essence of what it means. So yeah, I agree with you, Ben. If you can make a virtual reality game of Pong, just make Pong work, and people will buy it, because that's what Nintendo did with the Wii. They made Pong and called it tennis, and millions of people bought it. By the way, a lot of people don't know this. Technically, Wii Sports is the best-selling video game of all time.
Really?
Still to this day. Yeah. And it was basic. It was just Pong. So yeah, make virtual reality Pong, make it work. You'll sell 1 million Oculuses. But if you try to go for Call of Duty and make that perfection, you're going to fail, and you're going to disappoint a lot of people. Keep it simple, guys. Make it work.
I wonder if it's Oculi.
And Oculi? You know what? One thing I learned too, Josh, your colleague Cory, he was complaining that he couldn't use virtual reality because he has an eye problem. It turns out you can use virtual reality with one eyeball, so you can be a Cyclops and still use it as long as they have a headset for you.
Sensitivity.
Well, look, I can't just.
I was going to say that. I guess that's one way of managing the situation.
Well, I was going to say, if the ACLU complains that I'm being anti-discriminatory to Cyclopi, then they know where they can reach me. But no, but that's important too, though, because when Nintendo brought out 3D on their systems, people like Cory had problems using it because he hasn't. Some people can't see stereo vision, and so the gimmick's lost on you. But if they can make virtual reality work for people with some vision problems, including myself, that's pretty inclusive, and I think that's a big step forward too.
Well, guys, listen,
or who knows? Maybe LASIK surgery will be a DLC for the virtual reality. You never know.
Hey guys, we're pretty much at the end.
How do you play LASIK?
Hey, we're pretty much at the end of the show. Again, I want to thank both of you for doing this with us. Very informative. You're going to be out there for what? One more day, Josh?
Yep. Last day of the show is tomorrow.
Last day of the show tomorrow, and maybe on our next Gamer Tuesday with us, we can kind of do a wrap and some of the other things that you thought tomorrow that you haven't talked about on today's show. And
sure.
Okay. And listen, thanks for being with us here, Josh. And I guess you'll get back to it tomorrow. Nathan and I are going to stay to the end. We're going to hang up on you because that's basically how everything works. And we'll see you on our next Gamer Tuesday. All right.
Yeah. All right. Have a great one, everybody.
Exactly. All right. You take care. Have a good evening. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you, Josh. Good luck tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye bye. All right. So there he goes. And again, Nate, listen, really appreciate it. A lot of insightful things talked about tonight on your behalf, and we always enjoy having you here on the
That was a huge help. You know, just like we said, we couldn't really send someone out there ourselves, but having Josh out there and you commanding the lead
90
really,
seconds.
really helped us out. So thank you, Nate. Helped us out.
Yeah, Nate, stay
You're
with
welcome. But
stay with
I
us.
want to say, I want to say one. Oop, let me say one thing about this. You guys got a gem with Josh. I met him at E3. He stood out. He's an amazing reporter, and if he's listening, I hope he's smiling. So he does a great job out there.
All right, stay with us to the end. Tomorrow night, we have Marcel Gagne is going to be with us here. That's the Linux guy. He's
60 seconds.
all about Linux tomorrow night. Both hours, Marcel Gagne.
He's a very prolific author in the Linux space. Many people know him, and he likes Linux. Who knew?
Yes, he does. And we're going to talk about not only that, we're going to be talking about his wine of the month as well, because he likes to.
Because we feel everyone should be drinking more. That's a good message.
And he's going to talk about like the real desktop Linux. What does that mean? Okay. And certain assorted Raspberry Pi projects that are coming up. So if you are interested in Linux, I'm sure you are, be sure to catch us tomorrow night. So that about wraps it up, and we'll see you tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy.
10 seconds.
See you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and again, thanks for watching us on our Google Hangouts. And Nathan, again, thanks for being here with us. And I guess we'll have you back soon. Okay, I mean, Josh is doing a great job, but you shouldn't be a stranger here on our show too. You know, yeah.
Well, I figure you gotta pull me out. Who else gets to rant like I do? So.
Yeah, we enjoy your rants. We really do. All right, my friend. Take care. Good night. And we'll see you next time. All right?
All right.
Bye-bye.
Guys, thank you. I'll talk to you next time, okay? Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.